Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So this day of spoiler season is finally coming to an end, and I'm definitely taking a nap when this one is done. So if you haven't seen my previous 3 episodes from today, make sure you check those out. My most recent one was on the very first MDFC Sorcery Commander. That's right, a sorcery in your command zone. The one before that was on an Elder Dragon, and I asked the question, is this another Urza? And the one that I recorded way too early this morning was on possibly the weirdest commander of all time and definitely the weirdest 5-color commander. Cody is a walking, talking book, and that's not even why it's a weird commander. But finally, the final episode today. Unless they spoil something else. I really hope they don't spoil anything else that's major. Anyways, Tanazir Quandrix. Yes, the Quandrix Elder Dragon has been revealed, and I'm calling this episode Unlimited Power! Sorry for the poorly executed Star Wars reference. Anyways, let's get into it. So, Tanazir Quandrix is the Quandrix Elder Dragon. Go figure. Tanazir is a 4/4 Elder Dragon with flying and trample that costs 3 green-blue. When it enters the battlefield, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. When it attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quandrix's power and toughness until end of turn. So this commander is doing some pretty exciting things. First up, doubling the number of counters on one creature can be a very powerful thing. And we'll talk about some of the targets for that, which actually include Tanazir itself. Because when Tanazir attacks, we can have all of our creatures become as big as it. Or actually technically even bigger if they have +1/+1 counters on them as well. So the more powerful we make this Elder Dragon, the more powerful our team gets. And the larger our army is, the more creatures that we can smack our opponents with. So yeah, Tanazir can turn the smallest creatures out there, the tiniest of tokens, into world beaters. So this is the rare type of commander that can go wide and tall and still be incredibly effective. With all that said, let's jump into some cards that can work really well with this commander. The first creatures that came to my mind were ones that give you a benefit based off the amount of damage that they deal. So for example, Cold Eye Selkie has Island Walk, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. Now, typically in a game of Commander, at least one player other than yourself is gonna have an island, so usually this can get through. And then with your Commander in play, at the very least, you're gonna be drawing 4 cards. And again, the more that you pump your Commander, the bigger this gets and the more cards that you draw. But a potentially more effective creature, and definitely a more brutal one, is Cephalid Constable. It says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return up to that many target permanents that player controls to their owner's hands. So again, if your commander's in play and you get this through, that's at minimum 4 permanents. And please note that it does not specify non-land. So goodbye to your friend's lands and goodbye to your friendship, potentially. Definitely worth it. Anyways, moving on to Living Hive. It has trample, and it says when it deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens onto the battlefield. So this one can make our army even larger when it hits. When we start getting our commander's power up to 10+, this can get absolutely absurd. And of course, we can also include a token producer like Hornet Queen. It's a 2/2 with flying and death touch, and when it comes into play, we get 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch. Again, with our commander attacking and with no pump effects, that's going to be 5 4/4 flyers with death touch. And we even have a removal spell that can help us out with Aether Mutation. It says return target creature to its owner's hand, put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens into play where X is its converted mana cost. So we bounce something, we get a lot of tokens, then we swing with our commander, and those tokens get huge, and they deal a lot of damage. And speaking of getting a lot of tokens, there's Fungal Sprouting. It says put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So again, the bigger that we get our commander, the more tokens that we get, and then those tokens get huge. You can see how things can get out of control with this commander pretty quickly. But you haven't seen anything yet. Because now let's talk about pumping our army and pumping our commander with counters. Loyal Guardian has Lieutenant at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control your commander, put a ++1 counter on each creature you control. So this grows our team, grows our commander, and again our commander by growing grows our team even further. And then Master Biomancer is a fantastic one for this deck. It says each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional ++1 counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power and is a mutant addition to other types. So if we get a couple of counters on this, the creatures coming into play can get absurdly big. But the best of these has got to be Forgotten Ancient. It says whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a ++1 counter on Forgotten Ancient. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of ++1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto other creatures. So let's take a trip around the player. We're all casting some spells, Forgotten Ancient gets bigger, upkeep happens, we put them all on our commander, and then our commander says, okay, my creatures are now huge, and we're swinging and hitting for a ton. Seems like a fun plan. And of course, we've got some cards that can make our counters even more effective. Hardened Scale says if one or more ++1 counters we put on a creature you control, that many +1 ++1 counters are put on instead. Yeah, for a 1 mana enchantment, this can provide an absurd amount of value in this deck over time. And then something like Gnarly Colony has each creature you control with a ++1 counter on it has Trample. So this can help us get a ton of damage through, though maybe not as much as something like Skatewing Spy. It says each creature you control with a ++1 counter on it has Flying. Now, there are a ton of these types of effects that benefit your creatures for having counters on them, like something like Herald of Secret Streams, which makes them unblockable, so make sure you consider all of these when you're building this deck. But some other cards you might want to consider are things like Blackblade Reforged and Elder of Laurels. By equipping Blackblade Reforged to our commander, it's going to get +1/+1 for each land we control. And that buff essentially spreads to all of our other creatures when we attack with our commander. And then Elder of Laurels buffs in a different way. It has pay 3 and a green. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So again, the wider that we go, the bigger our commander can get from this. And then the bigger our commander gets, the bigger all of our creatures get. And keep in mind that you can activate this multiple times in a turn. So if your creatures can get through, that's probably game. Now when it comes to this commander being in the 99 of a deck, the first one that came to my mind was Rel the Hulkblade. This commander can double up the number of counters on Quandrix, so again, getting Quandrix huge makes your entire team huge. And speaking of a commander that loves counters, there's Rolesk Apex Hybrid. So you get counters on Quandrix, then you keep proliferating, and you get Quandrix huge, then you swing and kill your opponents. And one final one that I think might want to consider as well is Azuri Claw Progress. Now Azuri is built around a lot of low-to-the-ground creatures. But at the beginning of combat, it can also give an absurd amount of +1 counters to one creature, and yeah, Quandrix is a good target for that. But now let's move on to some pricey considerations, starting off with Arachnogenesis. This is essentially a fog effect that makes us a crazy number of spiders depending on the number of attacking creatures. So it saves us from an attack, and it also just makes our army huge. And of course, when you're talking about a +1 counter deck or a deck that's dealing with tokens, Doubling Season and Primal Vigor are pretty much shoo-ins, if you've got $50 or so each. And Branching Evolution is actually getting decently expensive as well, and that one can really help out with counters too. And speaking of counters, there's Colonian Hydra, which when it attacks, it doubles the number of +1 counters on all of your creatures. But now let's wrap things up, and it's time for me to give you my thoughts on Quandrix. I like the direction of this Elder Dragon, and I do like that it's a Simic commander that doesn't mention draw or land. Because, yeah, those can get a little boring if you just keep doing the exact same thing over and over again. So this commander that cares about going wide and going tall effectively can be a nice change of pace for a Simic player. So if you're looking for a different kind of a Simic deck, make sure you consider this one. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.